We're excited today because we have Dr. Robin Buruchara, Director of PABRA, Pan-African Bean Research Alliance. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So can you tell us a little bit of background information about what you were doing before you got to PABRA, a little bit about what you studied, what kind of research you worked on?
My career started up at the University of Nairobi, where I did agriculture in my bachelor's degree. After that, I joined the master's program at the same University of Nairobi in Kenya. And for my PhD, I did it jointly with the International Center for Tropical Agriculture, where I'm working. So I lived in Colombia for about 2.5 years. And together with the University of Nairobi, that's where I accomplished my PhD studies. All that, I mainly worked on beans.
So you're like the beans master.
Kind of, I think has been my career, and much of my studies and work in research have been associated with beans, partly because of what it contributes to the nutrition, to the income, and the livelihood of people in Africa.
So PABRA is known for its bean research, focusing on resistance to pests and diseases, weather patterns, yields, nutritional value like you mentioned, and more. Why is this important to Africa? Or most importantly, why is it important to what does this mean to the African farmer?
Now, the work on research has been focused initially on trying to develop varieties which are tolerant to the constraints. This enables farmers to grow using approaches that would breed varieties, and all you have to do is to give a farmer seed, and the farmer would grow it. Unlike other crops sometimes where you need to use pesticide and protect it against diseases. So CIAT as an international center has the collection, the global collection of bean types and varieties from all over the world. And this resource, which is stored in our head office in Colombia, becomes a source to draw in those traits which are important to improve productivity. Now, you have some materials are good for resistance, some are good for drought, and recently, the major shift of our work has been to develop varieties with high iron levels. It's the same resource that we draw from to improve varieties which are good for high iron and zinc. So our research has really focused to improve productivity, to improve the nutritional quality, to improve or have varieties which are marketable, in different regions. Now, one trait of beans is that they are in different colors, different types, different market classes. So different regions prefer different types. And one of the effort is that in all these efforts to support farmers' productivity to improve, we have to mind what are the market types, what are the preferred types, and what are those traits that are, like that in different regions, which makes it a little bit more complex, but also more exciting.
So we go back a little bit. PABRA is based where, in Kenya or other countries?
PABRA is a partnership. And the partnership of PABRA is such that we are 31 countries in Africa who are partners in PABRA. In East Africa, in Southern Africa, and in West Africa. All are countries where bean is of interest as a food crop, is of interest as a market crop, and is of interest in various aspects. So what we've done instead of each country doing its own research on beans, what CIAT did early on is to facilitate a partnership where the countries would complement each other in research. So you can say that PABRA is really a partnership of bean actors in value chains, defined at country level, but working together at regional and Pan-African level.
It's known that if farmers have access to good seeds, knowledge of improved varieties, their harvest can rise dramatically. How has PABRA been able to develop a seed system that reduces the time that it takes for these improved release varieties to get to farmers' field, to reach farmers' fields?
every seed starts with a released variety. When you release a variety, the people who initiate the production of seed is the researcher themselves, what they call the breeder seed. Then they grow foundation seed. And then this seed then is gone to commercial seed and is the one which farmers are sold or access from private sector or other sources of seed. So the approaches we have used is, if there is no private sector, then what are the alternative methods? And those are some that have been developed to support really seed of new varieties or particular traits to get to the end users.
Can you share more on your integrated crop management approach and how PABRA is supporting farmers with extension services?
We are focusing on variety itself, but management, so in a manner so that we can improve productivity, at least get the potential of the bean production. But to do that, as I said, we have to work with other actors. Increasingly, we are looking at how private sector plays a role in leading that. Also, there are other management efforts, but we have to work with those actors, particularly private sector, who can help drive that process. And then we work with governments, obviously, the extension services, the NGOs, that help together. And then we get to the market side, and how then can we support farmers take advantage of the produce they have, the markets there is, to get the income.
Women are the major producers and processors of food, including beans. What is PABRA doing to close the gender gap to ensure women are able to access the same opportunities as men?
I would start that women are the really major producers of beans, but they are also the major group that manages, in some cases, the trade of it, but also its consumption. But when you talk of trade, when a commodity becomes of interest economically, the men also get interested. In our work in beans, we've ensured that the actors in producing beans and the actors who can benefit from the beans, who are women, maintain that role. But what we have also tried to do is to have the women maintain and contribute in the processing. In Burundi, we have a lady who started from very low production level. She processes bean flour, and she uses also some of these micronutrient-rich beans, and she's selling this quite widely to the schools, to the programs, to clinics, and helping contribute in this. And she's making an income as well, and she's engaging people. So I have like 20 employees working with her.
So are there any other bean products that you like examples of bean products?
The main one is one which is linked with bean flour. And it's a composite flour. There's bean as one of the key base of that product, and it's used for making porridge. It's used for making soups, and quite popular. And some of the bean porridge are really fantastic. Yeah, okay. But also, one of the key elements that we are developing now is pre-cooked beans. And we think this would be a very interesting product in the long run, because it reduces the cooking time. But we are in the stage now of scaling up its use and production in the region.
So with all these stakeholders coming together, how do you help policymakers understand the specific constraints that bean farmers face? What can be done to assist bean production?
We can do everything, but we need the policymakers to support what we do. A very good example again is these high-iron beans. Now, there is a high-iron bean, product or technology that has been developed. It's important for a large population in many countries. The governments are keen to address malnutrition or these deficiencies. So the question is then, how do we communicate for them to give the support? And in most cases, we have the evidence. If we have the evidence these are good iron beans, the research also shows that if these beans are consumed, they address malnutrition. So the question is, the approach we use is to have this evidence in a format or in communications that enable us to engage with policymakers to give this effort support.
So if there is an investor interested in, or business person interested in investing in the bean value chain, what advice would you give them? What kind of challenges are they going to face? Is it profitable? Constraints? What aspect in the value chain would you advise them to invest in?
One of the attractions we do make is investment in the distribution and the consumption hubs. The consumption hub are really the pool of the beans which farmers produce. Farmers produce for their consumption, but they usually sell the excess. And if bean is one of those crops that they can quickly sell and get something, they'll sell it. And they do sell. So the investment is really in the consumption hub, processing, for example. That would be a very attractive. In some cases, a very good example we have is in Ethiopia. We worked with the Ethiopian government and the private sector to increase production of the white pea bean. The white pea bean is the one used for breakfast, yeah, and is a major attraction, is a major export crop in Ethiopia. So investment is in value addition, but investment can also be done in service provision, mechanization, financing, because of the trade. Once you have a value chain which is clear, there are various elements of that where investment can be done.
Addressing some of the youth unemployment,
yeah.
What advice would you give to the youth looking to invest in like small SMEs into this bean value chain?
One of the things that we are working on at the moment is introducing services of when farmers have big produce. One of the challenges they get is threshing. Threshing beans, they have to go up with sticks and all that, which damages the crop. But there are some small machines that have been developed that help to thresh the beans, so the beans are not damaged. And these are areas where the youth can invest. It's not a major investment, but it's investment. Instead of everybody having a thresher in their hand, you have a number of threshers where the youths come together and make provision of services. They move around with motorbikes, with their threshers, go around in the villages or in centers and help them to thresh. And they provide that services. Or they can make provision in supporting, marketing of the produce. And in some cases, be involved in value addition. For example, in Kenya, one of the youth is working on value addition. She's processing bean flour, and she's providing tailored flour for the children. And they are participating in that role. So, and in Uganda, we are working with one of the youth also, who's processing, but also combining it with orange flash potatoes, making new products. And part of our effort is that how do we have those supported with financing and other mechanisms so that they can be able to play that role and also exploit technology, which these days is what they're also keen on, so that they can be able to provide. So provision of services in particular aspects and in supporting them to be, emerging enterprises, businesses, is an aspect in which we see opportunities, and some of them are already getting involved in that.
Wrapping up, I'd like to say there was a billboard where 300 million viewers could see it. What is the message you'd like to send across about beans?
I think bean is an important crop in Africa. It offers opportunities for the women and also increasingly for the youth. And not only as an income crop, but is also, with the developments that we have had in technology, is a key nutritional crop.
In less than 1 minute, tell us what you want people to know about PABRA and beans.
PABRA is a partnership, and this partnership does bring together different actors but it works on a partnership which can be, can be applied elsewhere. But it does provide opportunities for food security, nutrition, and income, and is an element that requires the contribution of, different actors, and welcome to participate where possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.